kind of windy. The Jamaica classic car. Alright everyone, so we're at the Jamaica Classic Car Club meet in Mandeville, Jamaica, for the Model A Roadster. So at the Jamaica Classic Car Club meet in Mandeville. Nice turnout of cars, whole heap of few pre-World War cars, but we're gonna walk around and kind of look at as much as possible. Alright, so I guess we can start from here. There's some Jeeps here, but these are kind of modern. Oh, stuff here. It's more Willys Jeep there, like a S10 Chevy pickup Defender. Alright, so Ford Galaxy 500. I mean, this car is very long. It's huge. I don't think the video can do justice how long this car is. It's a long car. Jesus.
But it's clean, super clean.
Alright, so Dodge Dart, I think 68.
Alright, sir.
Alright, so two American cars, so we're going over to the British cars now. MGA. This is another MG. This is actually the model before. So this is a model before this one. This is MGA. And funny fact about this car was actually in some rallies way back in the day. You can actually see some of the badges. So I think this was in like a rally in Mexico. Some of the badge in here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, so this was, I think it probably in all Argentina. Alright, so we have a Morgan here. So this is another British car, but the Morgan now is still being made today. They use wood for the chassis. So part of this car is actually made out of wood, like trees. So this is a Morgan. I think it might be a Morgan Plus 4. Don't quote me on that. But all right, so I guess the three British roadsters. Then we have Ford Model A Roadster. This is an American Ford. So I can get it in frame. It's a Ford Model A Roadster.
This close?
Yeah, so the girl over here,
Yeah, that's a girl.
and that's the handbrake.
See if I can get an engine shot of this one here. It's a big four-cylinder engine. I don't remember the exact size, probably 2.7 liter or something like that. I don't know if I can see. This is a Chevy Superior. Let's see if I can get 1926 Chevy Superior. If I can, excuse me, show inside. So maybe like 100 years ago, you'd see these cars driving around Jamaica, and they were new back then. You actually still can get these tires brand new. This is actually a Firestone tire. I think there's a company in the US that they bought all of the old equipment, so they still make the tires for these cars. All right, so this is another Ford, but I don't remember the exact name, because what would happen back then, you'd buy a chassis from, say, Ford or Chevy, and you'd carry it to a coach builder, and then they would put a body on it, so you could customize the bodies and stuff like that. So I think it's a Ford chassis, but I'm not sure who the coach builder is. But this is kind of, I would say, resto modded somewhat. So it has a newer Ford engine in there from like maybe like an Escort, 90s Escort I think, or 80s. So you can see the gear stick there. Normally some of these older cars would have a weird, like, it might be the best way to show you guys. So you'd have like a lot of the ignition advance and stuff like that, especially on this one. Like stuff like that. So all of these stuff there. Yeah, so it would be a little bit weird to drive. It's not the standard way of driving these cars like what we know today. So yeah, but this one is extremely clean. So let me take a longer shot of this. Yeah, it's Mandeville, Mega Mart parking lot in Mandeville. Alright, so this is a Rover 100, and this car is famous for having suicide doors. So you see how the door opens like normal, But then the back door is probably closed. But the back door swings out. If you can see. Of course, Rolls Royce Silver Shadow. Let's see if I can step back, get it in frame. Ford Cortina Mark 1. So these were the sporty cars back in the late 60s. I think this would have been like a mid 60s, late 60s model. Ford Escort here, Mark 1 Ford Escort. And some Morris Minor. This is funny, like this used to be like the school teacher car. Like when I was in school, at least, like a couple of my school teachers used to have some of these. So this is I guess we call it woody, because it's actually wood right here. So it's kind of interesting how cars were so basic back in the day. Look at this, like just the speedometer there and a couple switches, like no fan. You know, this was the air conditioning here. You had to open the window, and this would have been a family car back then. You know, back then if you're fortunate enough to have a car, it would be one car in the household more than likely. You know, so you had to have a people mover. It's funny how the engine is so small. It's 1,000 cc's. The battery is actually bigger than the engine. Alright, so this is one of my favorite cars. I actually have the shape right after this Mercedes. I have a 1972. This is the earlier one. So this actually has a fin tail. So back then, most cars had this, because it was like the rocket jet age. So everything was kind of like meant to look like an airplane or a rocket. So even Mercedes, you know, it's not as way out there like an American car, like a Cadillac or whatever. But you know, they had the fin tail on their car too, you know. So it's a 1962. You can see the interior here. So I'm gonna do a video on mine one day. It's newer. Mine is a 72, so mine is 10 years newer. So it has the same front end, but the rear of mine is different. It doesn't have the fin tail, so unfortunately. But even the speedometer is like so interesting how they did it. But yeah, if you could afford one of these back in the 60s, yeah, you were crazy rich, you know. And it's actually, the smell in here is like real. You smell in the wood, and it's wood trim, but it's not fake wood, you know. So you smell the leather and the wood. It's like a combination. And then this would be a 6-cylinder inline 6 here. So this would be a 220S. So this would probably be a 2.2 liter, because that's how Mercedes used to do. Twin carburetors right there. The one I have is a 280S, so it's 2.8 liter. And of course, a fairly new Bentley. Going down here now, we're getting more modern stuff. This is an 80s Ford Sierra. They actually had a sport one to this Cosworth. Of course, Volkswagen Super Beetle. It's a little bit windy, so hopefully you guys can still hear. But yeah, I like the Herbie graphic on it, you know. Let's see if I can get it all in the shots. And then this is a Volkswagen R32. So this is a Golf R32. So this would have been a VR6 four-wheel drive 3.2 liter Volkswagen. There's Porsche. Oh, it's a Volvo here. This is a probably a Cayman. So this is interesting to see. This is actually a Volvo 240. I haven't seen one of these in a while, and this looks like a turbo one. Yeah, there's blow off valve there. Turbo on this side. Here, there's a turbo. So I couldn't tell last I've seen a old school Volvo so clean. It's 240 GLE. So GLE would have been the top of the line Volvo. Back then that was a trim GLE. So it's not a Mercedes, but yeah. All right. We have two Hawkeye STI RRXs. So these are fairly new cars, but they're going to be collector cars soon. These are probably one of the last good RRX STIs, and this is probably a RA because it actually has a roof vent right here. So normally the RA comes with that, so that's like a rally. This would have been sold as a for you to use to go rallying. And it's another one, so they're twinning it, but this one doesn't have the roof vent. All right, so Bugeye RRX STI, and of course AE86 Toyota 11. So this is the last rear-wheel drive Toyota 11. So you had it in the, what they call it, Hachiroko in Japanese. It's AE86. You had it with pop-up headlights, which would be the Treno, and then the 11 kind of, I don't know if you guys remember that AE92. It was very common back in the day in Jamaica. So it's like the first, before the 20 valve 11. So this would have been the shape before that. So very sought after car worldwide, to say the least. All because of mostly one cartoon. So we have Initial D. So the anime Initial D is why this car is popular. Or I should say one of the reasons why the car is popular. So this is a 4A GE, but the 16 valve version. So this was before the 20 valve. And we have a Datsun here. This is a 280 ZX or ZX. So this is the maybe the great grandfather to the 350Z or 370Z. And it's a Evo 7 or Evo 7. But let's see if I can get some shots inside. It's a very interesting color. It's almost like a light copper color. I don't know if the camera picking it up. But funny thing is that the word Datsun, so it's actually a Nissan, right? But when Datsun was trying to introduce cars to the US, they were afraid of using their name Nissan. Or I should say, when Nissan was introducing cars to the US, they didn't want to use Nissan in case it didn't work out and everybody would be like, oh, those idiot cars made by Nissan, So what they did, they came up with a name, Datsun. And they used that to sell cars in the US. And then when it took off and things went well, they kind of went back, or I should say changed to Nissan. So Datsun is actually Nissan. Is there anything? Oh, apparently we have some more cars coming in. Apparently there's some parade. Is what that? Is Miss Jamaica or something? Miss Universe.
St. Elizabeth, Manchester and Clarendon section. We call it fraction section.
Okay. I will have some classic car club people here. Alright, so Toyota Corolla Coupe or DX. Mega Mart in Mandeville. That's where it is. I normally see these in 4-door. I couldn't tell us to see a 2-door one, so 2-door DX with a 4AGE with a turbo. And of course the Toyota Sora or Lexus SC. So a nice little turnout of cars. Alright, so let me see. I'm gonna probably go back and probably get some shots of the a few cars that I missed down here. Alright, Land Rover Defender. And this is a Willys Jeep. So this is based off the American World War II Jeep. And we have a Chevy S10. And then another Defender. We actually have, I mean, these are not really classics, but coming up JDM stuff, Altezza. But what I really like is this is actually a SIR Accord, a JDM one, I think probably like 97. And you hardly see these much out here anymore, and it's in good condition, so one of the cars I like, you know. So it's just the SIR, not the Euro R one, but decent turnout. Let's kind of look at this Defender 90. Real off-roading. Yeah, it's a good little decent turnout. Like, I know a lot, especially a lot of the older cars. See if I can actually get some of the stuff in here. This is a Willys Jeep. If memory serves me correctly, I think this is a 1950 something Jeep. If you guys can see that stuff. And then this Chevy S10 pickup. So I heard this coming in and it sounds like it have a Jay-Z in there. So it's definitely, it's turbocharged, but it definitely sounds 6-cylinderish. Chevy S10 pickup. Alright, so pretty much that's it. I'm gonna have some newer Jeeps here, but Galaxy 500. I'm gonna do a quick walk around again. This car is huge. I'm not sure if this is even a Galaxy 500. It might not be, you know. It's actually a 390. There's a 390 badge on it. So it's not a 500. But it's a huge car, man. I mean, it's right beside this Wrangler, and it is longer than the Wrangler. 68 Dodge Dart. Vin Diesel car. And the British MGTD. So this is a MGA, and then this is what came before it. So this is the TD right there. What year is the TD? What TD started?
TD.
In late 30s or 40s?
Yes, late 30s. You hardly had any production during the 40s
Because of the
of
war.
World War II.
Mm.
So I think this is late 30s.
Okay, so this would have started in the late 30s, maybe 38
You need to give us a feature on the MGs. Because I'm calculating, I think I can get 10 MGs.
together. Yeah, man, we can do a thing.
Or, if it's not MG,
The British
British
roadsters.
sports
Yeah,
cars.
yeah, yeah.
So when you're ready, 10 minutes, mate, and we could probably come here. Shane have one, and Madden also live in St. Elizabeth, so we could have probably get Kingston.
And then everybody merge up. Yeah, that's a good idea, man. This is the only MGA in the island.
No, there's a second one, but it's not in the
Good condition.
The guy who owns a hotel, I can't remember
Oh,
his Jarrett's.
okay.
Yeah, I got rate something. That here with the hub, I will bring up
The cars there, man.
Yes,
See,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. And
So all these were the rally. These were the rally
yes.
badges, no? So this was in a rally in 1986. There's another one here, 1980, 86. So in another life, this car used to compete in rallies. Alright, so those are two MGs. This is a Morgan now, and like I said before, so these are all British cars. So the Morgan is the chassis is made out of wood, like trees, you know. So this is the Morgan here. I'm gonna go to the front so you guys can see it. And then of course go to the American cars again. So this is a Ford Model A Roadster. And just to show how simple these cars were back in the day. I mean, look at the speedometer, or the gauges I should say in there. And it's hardly anything, and it's a little bit weird driving. It's not like how you drive a normal car, like some of these levers are like for ignition advance and that stuff. So there's like a routine that you had to do to start the car. You just didn't go in there and turn a key. And then some of these cars, and if you see right here, this hole right here is actually put the hand crank. So there's a starter motor on them now, but the hand crank would have been there. And a lot of the other cars still have that, like even the Rover here still has the hand crank. I mean, this car is a 1962 or 64 Rover 100, and you can see it still has the hand crank thing. And there's a technique to do it, because if you don't do it properly, it could break your wrist. So it wasn't. Yeah, so starting the car in the morning back in the day could probably send you to the hospital if you weren't careful. And this now, I need to find out exactly what model this is. Back in the day, you would buy a car, you'd buy the chassis from let's say Ford or Chevy, and then you'd send it to a coach builder, and they'd customize the car for you. So underneath, it's a Ford, but it could be a different company that did the chassis. Not chassis, the body. So this is kind of a modern, updated version. So you have your turn signals, and even the gear stick there. So I think this has a engine from a Ford Escort. So it's updated somewhat. This is a Rover 100, and it's Rolls Royce here, Silver Shadow. This is like a 70s one, I believe. Yes, Jamaica. Mandeville, Mega Mart. Mega Mart in Mandeville. So they actually have some beauty pageant contestants here. See if I can get them. And I like how some of them dressed up like old school, like period correct for some of the cars. No, none of the cars are for sale that I know of. I would say, maybe, I think maybe about 4:30 might be when they're gonna be wrapping up. Alright. Alright, let's see if I can walk a little bit more over here.
One more. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, the white one. Yeah, the sharp one.
Yeah, so pretty much that's it. I think I've kind of walked around a lot of the cars. There's Volkswagen here, Beetle, with the Herbie stickers. For the Sierra, you have like a Cosworth version to this. There's a SL Mercedes, well, two SL Mercedes. So this one is the prior year. So this is the older one, and that's the new one. Okay. Guess I'll maybe wait till those people are finished, kind of walk back around. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
So we drive, you say, I used to say, I'm drive this and go to work.
We got work. This is drive one got school.
Alright, so I'll do another walk around. Alright, we have a Datsun 280 ZX or ZX. So this is an interesting color. It's like a copper color. Camera not really picking it up, but it's very interesting color. So for a lot of people that don't know, Datsun is actually Nissan. It's just that the name that Nissan came up with when they were trying to get into the US market. They were afraid that if they failed, it would ruin their name, their reputation. So they made a different name to test it. So they're like, you know what, we make a name Datsun and we use that. And then when things went well, they kind of switched over to Nissan. So you'll see when they started doing Datsun by Nissan. So this is when they were thinking about switching over or about to. Of course, this car AE86, and this is actually a Japanese Levin. So the US ones were just a Corolla with pop-up headlights. In Japan, they got them as a Levin and as a Treno with pop-up headlights. So this is actually a Levin. Can get it. 4A GE. This is the 16 valve version. So this is the version, the model before the AE92. So one of the cars that I want, but the prices are so crazy. And of course, period correct wheels, Panasports. Can't go wrong with Panasports. Alright, I'm going to go over to that Mercedes. So what I was saying before is this Mercedes here, I actually have the shape right after it, so the model right after it, which has the same front end, but this one, they call it the fin tail. And the reason it's a fin tail is because back in the 50s and early 60s, cars, that's when people were going to like space and all of this jet travel and all that stuff. So the car actually has a fin tail. I don't know if you guys can see it there. So I have the non-fin tail version, but if you look in here, into the interior, 6 cylinder, I think maybe this could be a 2.2 liter. Twin carburetors. So Mercedes would have the naming convention, they'd have 220S. The S normally is carburetor. And then if you'd have E at the end, so SE, that's injection. So some of them had fuel injection, but it wasn't computers, because they didn't have computers then to control the fuel injection. It was mechanical fuel injection. So yeah, this is actually a nice car. I like the kind of, it's almost shaped like a missile, or like everything back then was like planes and missiles and rockets and that kind of stuff. Alright, so Morris Minor 100. This is a station wagon. So this would have been like a big family car back then. But you can see the engine. I mean, look at this. Look how small it is. Look at the battery compared to the engine. But yeah, so Morris. And of course, a lot of it had wood. Oh, I love the old school crates, the Dragon Stout and the Heineken and the old stuff at the back. That's cool. I like that. So it's actually wood, real wood. You can even see it from the inside. I don't know if you guys can see. Let's see if I can peep in. But you see how simple the interior of this car is, Alright, so it's Ford Escort. So this was a very popular car back in the day. And then beside it is I guess you could call them same brand, Ford Cortina. So the Cortina came first. What's funny that they actually have the Lotus version to this, which would be the equivalent of an Integra Type R. Like back in the day, that is what naturally aspirated, high revving, small engine car. Yeah, so this is a Cortina GT. So, it's another Cortina. So this is a Mark 1 Cortina. This is a Mark 2 over here. This green car is a Mark 2 Cortina. So this is the shape after. And you also had them in the Lotus too, Lotus trim. But the Lotus would have been a 2-door.
Wow, yes.
Every time
Is that 1600E this?
Well, under the E, but I think
1600. Yeah. Clean, man. So these were the sports sedans in Jamaica in the early 70s. Like if you wanted a small engine, you had the muscle cars and stuff, but small engine cars, these were the cars. And the Ford Capris and stuff. Alright, so just walking back here and then I go end the live.
we want to do something with the ladies from the shop.
Okay. Soon come to
So I kidnap Bradley and do some shoes with them. I want you and Bradley to do some shoes with the ladies and the cars.
Alright guys, so pretty much that's it. I'm going to see if I can get one more general overview. For those in the Mandeville area, it's Mega Mart parking lot in Mandeville. I think they're probably leaving in maybe like at 4. So, and this young lady here, Tony, she actually paints, and this is something that she actually painted.
It's pure and utter heat.
Big
It wasn't me.
artist.
It wasn't me.
So, very windy.
No, you have to hold it.
So she actually painted this car here, which is a 1926 Chevy Superior. So this car is 100 years old. Yeah, 1926 and 2026. Yeah, so this car is 100 years old. Let's see if I can go and get inside it. Alright, so the 100-year-old car. I have an old picture out of this car back in the day, and I think it sold for $320 or something like that in 1920s.
Yeah, it's 100 years old. It's Chevrolet. Chevrolet.
It's almost like a house lock. You know, if you look at it, it's almost like a house lock. And then back then it would be suicide doors. Like all the doors were pretty much. I can't own this one, but yeah. So yeah, 100-year-old car. I think this might be the oldest car here. Then the Model A, which is right beside me. This is like a 1930 something one. This is 1920s, so this would be the oldest car. And I think there might be another car, maybe a Model T. I'm not sure. There's another older car that is still driving. But I need to double check that because this might be the oldest running car in Jamaica currently. Mega Mart in Mandeville, that's where we are. There's a function they're having. So the parking lot in Mega Mart. So if you're in Mandeville, they should be wrapping up about 4. Oh, yeah, man. All right, so, but yeah, I normally do a lot of this stuff, guys. So if you guys like this type of content, you can feel free to follow. I go a lot of car shows, review a lot of cars, a lot of car photography stuff, and I kind of twiddle with my project cars stuff, a bunch of cars that I mess with sometimes. But yeah. See if actually, I was talking about the suicide doors. This is another car that has, I don't know if it's open. Let me see if it's open. No, it's not. But the doors open, the back door opens outward. So I can see the handles. So they call those suicide doors. So they swing out. No 100s. The oldest Toyota here would be this DX here. I don't remember the chassis code. I know it's probably like a T something. This is the oldest Toyota Corolla here. And it's a Corolla DX Coupe with a 4A GE. See if I can actually get any in the interior. And then the second oldest Toyota would be the AE86. So that would be back down here. For the car cleaner? Yeah, man. Soon circle back for that one day. Yeah, so this is the AE86 Levin. So this is the last rear wheel drive Levin. And you have the trainer with the pop-up headlights too. But yeah, really clean. And I think this is the first one I've ever seen with a sunroof. You know, I've never seen one with a sunroof. No Tidas. No Tidas in a classic car show. Probably have to come back in another 30 years or 25 years for the Tida to be here. Yeah, the Volvo is actually a, you know what? Yeah, the Volvo is a 740 Volvo with a turbo on it. So let me actually go back up there. And it's really clean. So I'm not sure if that's a turbo model because they came turboed or if there's somebody added it, but it's really clean, man. Really clean. Of course, Herbie and then R32 VW, not Nissan. So this was their VR6 3.2 liter 6-cylinder 4-wheel drive Golf. So I guess this is before the Golf R. It's another Escort coming in. Alright, so let's go to the Volvo. So yeah, a nice little turbo setup. This is like LS1 coils because I have similar looking coils on my Corvette. So this is definitely on some form of standalone computer. So yeah, turbo Volvo. Yeah man, the Volvo really clean. Of course the Subaru is here. Hawkeyes, Bugeye. Alright, so here's the Ford Escort Mark 1. SL Mercedes. Alright, I'm gonna try to see if I can walk a little slow. The sun kinda hot though, but let me see if I can walk a little bit slower. Hopefully you guys saw most of the stuff here. Kinda hard to see on the... Yeah, so the 940 is actually a modernized 740. So they're very close. The 940 actually came. The 740 didn't sell as well. So that's why they came up with the 940. So it was a modernized. So they used basically the same car and just changed the lights a little bit, especially the tail lights. So I'm gonna go back and show you. The 740 is a little bit more boxier, if you could call it that. And the tail lights are a giveaway. So these are the 740 tail lights. If you guys can see them. 740 GLE. So GLE would have been the top of the line. This was the top of the line model. For those who don't know, Volvo is actually a Swedish car company, and for years they made the safest cars in the world, and I think they even invented the side impact system, which would be like a door, a bar in a door, and I think they invented the retractable seatbelt. So you know your seatbelt retracts, and I think Volvo invented that. So they were big on safety back in the day. So I'm gonna try to walk a little bit slower now. Let's try here. For those who know Herbie movie, the movie Herbie, this is kind of like a replica, even though this is a newer Volkswagen Beetle. I think Herbie, this is a Super Beetle, I think. So Herbie would have been an older one. Yeah, but very close. This is a Ford Sierra. They have the sporty one called a Ford Sierra Cosworth. And of course SL Mercedes. So this would be the newer one to that. I think the shape before this is called the Pagoda, and I don't even know if there are any pagodas in Jamaica. So these actually came V12. You could get these with a 12-cylinder engine. I think SL 600, I believe. I'm not sure if any are here, but I'm sure the Bentley. I mean, it's a new car, but hey, why not, you know? And then you can probably look at the Mercedes after again. You like them type of car? Kind of too new for me still, but
You're gone still.
it's Bentley. Of course, this is the Fintail Mercedes. So funny enough, this car turned later into the S-Class. So this was the S-Class back in the day. But before they called it S-Class. So if you could afford one of these Mercedes back in the day, you were rich. This is a 1960, I think 62. You can look inside and see the setup here. Oh, when did this GTR get here? This random R33, 35 I mean, not 33, 35. Like I'm thinking of classic cars, so this kind of is a little bit too new, even though it's one of my favorite cars, but it's a Mega Mart in Mandeville. That's where our parking lot in Mandeville Mega Mart. This car just showed up, the Escort Mark II. Clean.
This is everybody's dream car.
Yeah, it's a car show. So it's a little car show in Mandeville Mega Mart parking lot in Mandeville. Alright, so let's jump back. After the Mercedes, we actually have the Mars. See, you drive your GTR, man. So that's the owner for the red GTR right there. Alright, so the Mars Minor 100. And a Ford Escort here. And then Ford Cortina Mark 1. And the Rolls Royce Silver Shadow. This is a Rover 100. So this was known as a baby Rolls Royce. So if you never had Rolls Royce money but you wanted a luxury car, it was a Rover 100. And I think they call it Rover 100 because it was the first Rover to go 100 miles an hour. This is the Rover 100. And of course we have the pre-World War II cars. So these are cars from like the 1930s, 1920s. So two Fords, although this is a custom Ford, and a Chevy. So that's a Chevy. So the Chevy is actually the oldest one. It's 100 years this year, 1926. So they actually did a painting for it. It's a young lady that actually sat down and painted the car. I don't know where she is now, but she normally, Tony is her name, she normally paints cars. So, oh, there she is. Tony, so where can we find you on social media now, as an artist that painted?
Well, I have both an Instagram and a TikTok. My Instagram is t.cele.arts. And my TikTok is TIME.CELESTINE.
Okay, awesome. So I was just showing everyone your artwork. So how long it took you to do this?
It took me 2 weeks.
23 days. Okay, take your time with it and thing.
And then framing took 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, so the 100-year-old car got its portrait. Yeah, so actually if I can go close to the engine to show you guys. You guys can see the engine here. So this is a 1926 Chevy Superior. It's 100 years old. If you guys can see, the stuff's probably a little close for the camera to pick up. But and what I was joking with is that the lock come in like a lock for a house. You know, so you'd find on a house door. Yeah, look at it. Yeah, but this is where the cars came from. Anyways. And a lot of the cars they kind of used it's mostly metal, but they would have used wood for some of the construction. This big old diff. And some leaf springs. They normally do shows every now and then, you know. They're mostly in Kingston. They normally have a big one in Hope Gardens. But the Hope Gardens one, they don't normally, most of the older cars tend to be, or the older running cars are in Mandeville, believe it or not. So when you go to the one in Kingston, you hardly have these cars coming. These cars live in Mandeville, so they're mostly here, including this here, Morgan. This is another car. So. So the owner for the Shane. What type of car is this again?
It's called a Bram.
A Bram what?
Bramwith.
Bramwith.
Landale.
Convertible. So it don't have one of the, what you call a seat there again?
The rumble seat, the stepmother seat.
Stepmother seat.
No, it doesn't have this one.
Okay.
This one doesn't cover it.
So you have one of the period correct horns, right?
Yes.
It works?
Electronic one. Like that.
Okay. The car look nice, man.
Like it, not Joe. That's too much taste more. You do some food for me.
Yeah, but I just realized, you know, modernize the front end. Most of the car, we say McPherson.
So what brand would do? Get some chassis. Build the body and put the Landale feature.
Yeah.
And then put everything so you can drive it everywhere.
Every day. So disc brakes, everything. Hi. So this car is actually what you would call a resto mod, because a while ago I just looked and I was like, why do it look like rack and pinion? And McPherson strut looking suspension. But yeah, apparently so they modified this in the UK, which is quite interesting. They're supposed to drive good versus this is what they should have come with, which is like the suspension from like a carriage, horse and carriage, you know, leaf spring kind of thing. Look at the front end of this. Very primitive. So this is what this should have came with. So it's interesting. Alright guys, so I'm gonna be ending soon, but if you guys like this type of content, it's something that I do as often as possible. I also do project car stuff too. I have a few cars myself, automotive photography and that kind of stuff. So general automotive content. I'm gonna be doing some more classic car stuff in the coming weeks. So if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, you can give me a follow. And I think that's about it. So World War II will is there and some other things, but yeah. But before I got this big, long, convertible Ford Galaxy. This thing is so Mega Mart. We're Mega Mart parking lot, Mandeville. I think they're gonna probably end maybe about 4:35. Um, so yeah. So this Ford Galaxy here. Yeah, this car is huge. Like just to, all right. So just to show you guys, I'm beside a, I guess you could call this a Wrangler, Rubicon or whatever, and you can see how much longer the car is. And this is not a small car, this Wrangler. Okay, it's crazy. All right, so that's pretty much it. So for everyone, it's if you're in the Mandeville area, it's Mega Mart parking lot in Mandeville. Okay, so it's like another A86, but this would have been a Corolla GTS, so that is an American one. So the American one only came with the pop-up headlights. Pretty much that's it. I mean, we have one and two cars coming in still, but see if I can get a little bit higher ground to kind of do the last pan of the meet. Oh, there's some stairs right there. I'm gonna go and see if I can. So yeah, we're at Mega Mart parking lot in Mandeville. See if I can get everything from the top. It's free, man. It's no cost. Just walk. Just park in the parking lot and walk in. No cost. No entry. Free. Alright, so it's Mega Mart in Mandeville. Alright everyone, so I'm gonna be ending the live. Just in case you guys like this kind of stuff, you can follow me I do a lot of car content, so if you're into that stuff, you can check out my pages. Alright everyone, have a good Sunday and take care.